Hi guys, Al here. GW in the preview announced a new edition of Warhammer Underworlds, which is quite cool. I like Warhammer Underworlds, it's a pretty cool game. It got a bit bloated. I really like the models, painting them as a palette cleanser. However, GW may not be telling us the truth about the new version of Warhammer Underworlds. You always need to read in between the lines. So that's exactly what I'm going to try and do as we take a look at the new edition of Warhammer Underworlds, EHMEGARD. So, the first thing, looking at Nick's top 10 things for Underworlds, and yes, I did read this in his voice, is everything is available all the time. He says, right now, getting hold of certain warbands that are legal in the game is pretty difficult. You might end up scouring independent stores for old boxes or hunting down models online to get that warband you really want. This means you have to be super lucky or some sort of Warhammer detective to keep up with the game. Well, that's a thing of the past. Now, only warbands and cards that you can actually buy from Warhammer.com, a Warhammer shop or independent trader, or that have recently been available, can be used in events, making it fairer and more accessible for everyone. There has been a problem with warbands going out of stock. Certain warbands would be super popular, like the Crimson Court was one, the Vampire one. Brilliant box, loads of people wanted it. GW didn't anticipate, it was out of stock for ages. It's GW's fault, it's not yours. That warband wasn't any particularly, better in the game than any of the others. It's just GW literally couldn't anticipate the fact that they were really nice models and everybody wanted them, including me. I love painting my ones. What this says to me is that they're going to be doing churn and they're going to be getting rid of models from matched play, which is something that GW just seem to be obsessed with, to be honest, on a regular basis. So I reckon your warbands might only be good for 1 or 2 seasons now. I mean, you get like a Stormcast Eternal type thing, because they're not going to want to keep, 2-3 years down the line, they're not going to want to keep all of those warbands in stock to make sure that you can use them. So what will happen is they'll go to Legends. They won't be available for matched play or organised play, if you want to call it. I don't know why GW is so obsessed with match play, organised play, turning things into esports. I'm pretty sure that this is just a casual game to most people. I don't think any looks at it beyond that, and I think that is going to be reinforced by another change that's being made a bit later. Let's have a look at point 2. The new War Scrolls replace the old faction deck, providing loads of great character for your warband in one easy to read place. These once per game abilities mean that you've really got to think about how you're going to use them, and they provide some great cinematic moments. Now the inspired condition is the same for every fighter. Things become so much simpler, and there will be fewer gotcha moments as your opponent can take a quick read of the War Scroll and know what your warband can do really quickly. And let's talk about the new design of the cards for a moment. Just look at those vibrant, punchy pictures of miniatures being used to illustrate each. It's a real shift for Warhammer Underworld's cards, and it just looks great. Sorry Nick, I know you love Warhammer Underworlds, I've seen you play it a lot down Warhammer World, but this isn't a good thing. Now, the reason they've done these War Scroll cards is because this allows them to print the character cards with the Asian languages that we saw at the shop top. I think it was Chinese and Japanese, and use that because everybody else uses the Abrahamic alphabet? I don't know, but I mean, they've got to print this cards now. It's a cost-saving exercise. Don't be fooled by any altruism. There's no altruism on part of GW here. They are looking to save money. That's it. That is the whole thing behind this game. There was nothing stopping you handing over, 4 cards for your 4 fighters on average to your opponent and then have a look at that? So that's complete bollocks. But when it comes to the cards, again, cost-saving exercise. You don't have to pay artists this way. You've already got photos that you can just use, put in there, or you've already got a photographer who can take photos to slap on your cards because you don't want artwork anymore. Personally, I hate it, and it might be the one thing that puts me off getting this version of the game. I think it looks garish, I think it looks bright, I think it's lost all its character, all its grimdark. Really not a fan. But let's move on. Simpler rules are great for everyone. When Wintermore was released, the rulebook for Warhammer Underworlds was well over 30 pages long, full of charts, diagrams and explanations that some new players might have found difficult to read through. Hey, it's like they watched my review. And that's without the huge errata and FAQ documents to cover the thousands of cards in circulation. Well, the new edition has gone totally the other way, with rules that are written simply and clearly, but just as tight as current players have come to expect. This will make it so much easier for new players to begin their journey in the Underworlds, and that means more opponents for all of us and a bigger community. That's just an all-round win. This was a necessary thing. Wintermore was ridiculous. I took one look at it. I was just like, I bought it from the models. My missus really liked the ghouls. I really like the Age of Sigmar Electro dudes. I was like, yeah, I'll get it from the models, and it might get played at some point. I took one look at the rulebook and went, no, they've completely ballsed this up. And this is just going to happen again, because they keep doing this. GW do this time after time after time. Reset it, make it all simple, add bloating as time goes on. At this stage, GW were releasing a new season or a new box of Warhammer Underworlds every 6 months, and it was awful. It was pathetic. Nobody could keep up. It's constantly churning out new boxes to get money out of people, and this is a necessary thing, but it's necessary because of GW. Make no mistake. This is GW's own fault that they've got to this position where they had to reboot the game. But generally, simpler rules. I know that Magic's gone and stuff like that. It'll all get added back in later, don't worry. But for now, yeah, defining warbands and decks. The language of how each warband was meant to play was something experienced players would understand, with words like aggro and control bandied around. Pretty sure it should be bandied around. But they were never fully explained by the rules. On top of that, to find out whether a universal deck would work with your warband, you'd either have to research online or buy them first and find out. Now warbands are defined clearly by the game's designers. Strike, trying to kill stuff. Take and hold those objective markers. Mastery, harder to use but with few rewards. And flex, does 2 or more of the above. Players will know immediately whether a warband suits their style of play and if a deck works well. That just makes life so much easier for everyone. Do kind of agree with this one. I've got thousands of cards because I bought the models to paint. The game was a secondary consideration. And if I played with Kirsty, we just did random cards. You don't want to look for 1,000 cards to make a deck. Sod that, unless you are playing competitively all the time. So we just did random ones. And that worked fine, to be honest. So I kind of get what they're doing here, but I do feel that they're removing a lot of the deck building. They haven't explained quite how the deck building is going to work going forward. And if they're trying to make this a competitive game again, rather than a casual game, which it seems like they're trying to do, because they're talking about organised play, legality, what you can use, what you can't use, I think that's something that's going to bite them in the arse. I think the people want the ability to build their power decks and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Number 5, less bloat, more balance. Let's talk about the Thunder Tusk in the room. For those of us who have collections of cards spanning many years, it's going to be tough to hear that those are not going to be part of the game anymore. We've spent a long time collecting them, organising them, and loving them. Calm down. But if we're honest, we can also admit, hand on heart, that the game had just got too big. With over 60 warbands, each with their own faction deck, all those extra rivals decks, Warhammer Underworld had become as big and bloated as a Great Unclean One. Again, your fault, GW. This new edition is necessary to keep our beloved game fresh, exciting and balanced, as well as welcoming to new players. This might be hard to come to terms with, but this really is the right thing for the game. But this new edition is also a great chance for all of us to learn together as one which deck works best with which warband. What combos and tricks can we find? It's a great and exciting time for the game. It's been made fairer for everyone. It's a new era for Warhammer Underworlds and one we can all enter together. Yeah, I mean, it's bloated. It's GW's fault. They just smashed out so much content for this game, so many new additions, each one added new rules. I was getting set. I mean, I was happy just to have like the magic in there. Just put some magic and have some dudes casting spells and stuff. But no, then they had to do reactions and reaction tables and charts. And I was just like, look, I'm just sick of this. This is not the half hour to an hour game that I wanted to play. Yeah, it's not what I wanted. But, fair enough. It's what they've done. I probably won't play a new edition. I've got the old edition. What I might do is look at the rules for the new edition and see if that works. If I can homebrew that with my old cards. Again, just doing randomly or just do decks. I certainly don't fancy collecting from scratch with all those cards with the artwork removed and these horrible bright cards and photos and everything. And although there is a chance that I might pick up a few new boxes for the models, because I do genuinely like them and I really like them as a palette cleanser, as I've said, I don't think I'm going to be buying into the new edition in a big way at all. And I've a suspicion about how they're going to release the warbands anyway, so we'll get to that in a sec. Longboarding was a tactic where warbands that preferred to sit back and play passively could set up the boards lengthwise, so their players had no hope of getting into a fight. The new boards put the war back into Warhammer Underworlds, getting players stuck in and making all the game more fun for both sides. There will be no more spending a whole battle round just moving your models up the board. You can get straight into the thick of the fighting from the first activation. Much more exciting, much less tactical. You could have just banned longboarding. You didn't have to get rid of the ways that you could set up the boards. That was one of the things that I kind of liked about it. You could do some tactics, you could sort of All right, not like put your guys right at the back of a double-ended longboard. That's a bit of a dick move if one has got combat guys and you've got maybe shooting or something. But you could have just banned that particular setup. All you've got now is you've got a board, and as we'll see, some territory cards, and like you're literally one space away from each other, so it's just going to be bash, bash, bash. So yeah, I'm not a fan, but they've sold it positively. You could have just banned longboarding. It wouldn't have been hard. I like the 2-board setup. Bounties. A really nice addition to the game in Embergard is that the bounty award for killing the fighters and the cost to allocate upgrades is variable, and killing particularly powerful fighters could earn 2 or 3 glory points. For example, Farazra and Jurek of the Emberwatch are worth 2 glory apiece, and the leader Ardd is worth 3. Killing all 3 is worth a mighty 7 glory. Good luck with that though. You'll also notice that each warband gives away roughly the same amount of glory in bounty, regardless of how many fighters it has, which is a really nice touch. Upgrades are varied in price too, and the more powerful ones may cost 2 glory to apply. You'll even find that some cost no glory at all. This has allowed the writers to come with some upgrades with varied levels of power and cost them appropriately, so look out for some seriously powerful upgrades. It's a pretty cool change. The fact that you get the glory for killing dudes, it always seemed a bit weird to me. You could wipe out the other player and they could still win by getting a more glory. So yeah, that's a good change. I like that one. The focus ability. We've all played that game where you can draw up to 5 upgrades and no glory, and you just can't do anything. It can really shut your game down and render you powerless to respond to the enemy or make any of your plans work. Or how about when you have those 3 objective cards in your hand that you can't score? Say hello to the new focus ability, in which you can use one of your turns instead of activating a fighter. Now, instead of drawing 1 power card or discarding or drawing 1 objective as an activation, you can ditch as many cards as you like from either hand and redraw back up. It takes just 1 of your turns, but it can really get you out of a bind or help you find that crucial objective you know is in your deck somewhere. This is a huge win and will make your games more enjoyable. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a cool change. I like that. I don't remember ever having bricked hands that I recall. There was always at least 1 objective that I could do, but no, that's nothing but a positive change there. That's a good move. Reuse that glory. You still need glory points to use upgrades in the new edition, but there's no more spending it. Instead, simply make sure that the total cost of your upgrades is equal or less to your current glory score. And here's the cool bit. When a model is slain, you remove all of its upgrades. Let's say, for example, that when 1 fighter dies with 6 glory points worth of upgrades, those upgrades are discarded, which means all of a sudden you find yourself with 6 glory spare to spend on new upgrades. Recycling glory in this way means you're going to be able to get more of those upgrades in play. This is something you should really think about when designing your decks. Yeah, that's kind of cool. If a dude dies, you don't lose that glory that you used to spend on the upgrades. You get it as a pool, and then you can use it to assign new upgrades to other guys. That'll help keep it a bit more balanced, rather than when you lost a fighter with like loads of really powerful upgrades, and you're like, right, okay, well, I'm in trouble now. Again, not something that happened to me massively. I never played a massive amount of this game, so yeah, no, that sounds pretty positive. I can't think of any GW malevolence there. That sounds good. That moment where you put 3 ploys into 1 attack, rolling 4 successes on 5 attack dice, only to have it bounce because your opponent rolled a cheeky crit on their save dice. Yep, I know that moment well, and so do you. It's great when you roll a crit, but not so great when your opponent keeps rolling those crit defences. In EHMEGARD, crits are still great. They might activate weapon rules, allow you to overrun attack or stand fast in defence, but now they will just count as any other successes. They won't override every other success you roll, so there won't be that moment when you feel you should apologise to your opponent just because they turned the colour of a blood letter after you rolled your 3rd crit defence of the battle round. Yeah, it's a good change. Again, it was your own fault, GW. You made it that way. I mean, fishing for crits became a thing in Kill Team. As always, GW come up with a cool design philosophy, a cool design idea, and then just kind of run it into the ground by overdoing it time and time again. So this is a cool idea. I like it. So what else have we got for Warhammer Underworlds EHMEGARD? They have showed off a bit more stuff, and I've got some screens here. This one here, again, is just talking about the cards, and as you can see, it's all photos of the minis again. It's just I just don't. And again, you've got 1, 2, 3 numbered. It's just all a bit not a fan. Not a fan. Where's my artwork? Where's my evocative, grimdark look? These guys just look like cartoons. I couldn't believe the chin on this dude. Reminds me of Lord Bloody Farquaad from Shrek. Ridiculously cartoony looking models. Just don't get any grimdark out of them at all. As cool as the Skaven looked, the Stormcast Eternals, I'll chuck some pictures up. Yeah, it didn't look great, but Yeah, the new critical roll, when you roll a critical, then you can either overrun, which means that if you get more criticals than the save roll, so you just basically get a free hex move. Okay, stand fast. Okay, so it's basically -1 damage. So crits still do quite a big effect. -1 damage is still pretty good. I think people will still be trying to get crits. And then they've got the Underdog concept, which apparently is from the New Age of Sigmar, which I've not played, and Spearhead, which I've also not played. And basically it's a bit more of a balancing thing. So it looks like you essentially get card if you're an underdog, or there's certain cards that can only be used if you are the underdog. It's a bit weird because it looks like they're normal cards, like part of your normal deck of cards, your hand, but it also looks like you can only use them if you're an underdog. So if you're not the underdog, they were talking about getting rid of brick cards. Maybe you've got to use one of your turns to get rid of the cards if they're all underdog cards. Don't know. Needs a bit more explanation, but could be a cool concept. And then territories. So we're saying that because there's one board, there's no more board setups, there's no territories. So it's all done on the cards now. And you either start like right next to each other or one space away. I don't know if there are more interesting deployments on there. From what we can see, no. And then finally for EHMEGARD, the game language has been streamlined, ensuring the hyper-specific terminology used in the last edition is being used as sparingly as possible. Timings and sequences have been cleaned up. Big infographics explain steps and reaction windows are a thing of the past. Uncommonly used rules like barge and magic dice are gone, replaced with unique warband abilities. I think magic will be back, personally. All of this has shrunk the rulebook from around 50 pages to just 16. It'll cost the same, though, making Warhammer Underworlds easier to learn and play than ever. So, yeah, I think this is going to be out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And that's a lot of new additions this year. We've had new additions of Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Lord of the Rings, and Warhammer Underworlds. That's a lot. So I don't know if something's going on there and they're just pumping out the new additions for some reasons, but yeah, this could be popular. I'm not going to be buying it. I don't like the look of it, first and foremost. I might pick up a few of the models. I've got a feeling they might be doing 2 warband box sets. I'm wondering if they're going to push to that idea rather than, because of the success of things like Kill Team, for example, rather than doing the single warband box set. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, it could be all right. But you've got to read between the lines. This has been done. I think it was a cost of either getting rid of Underworlds, because I don't think it was as popular as people thought it was. I mean, there's certain warbands from ages ago you can still get easily. They just didn't sell because the models weren't that great. But I think they've basically turned around and said, look, you can keep it, you've got to cut costs. Hence the multi-language cards, hence the War Scroll cards. So you've only got one card, you've got to print in different languages. Everything else is back to the numbers and the symbols, and then you can just, the names just a little bit different for those Asian languages that you got. So no artwork to commission, just use photos that you've already got, or just, if you need to take a nice new photo and put some After Effects on it. A lot cheaper. We'll have to wait to see if the production quality is the same. The models look okay. I'm not getting into this new edition. I'm certainly not. Would I get the models if they're available separately? Possibly. Not the Stormcast. I'm sick of Stormcast. They're so generic and boring looking. And these just look really cartoony. Again, I'll put some pictures up. The scaling, I don't mind that so much because they're supposed to look cartoony. Yeah, we'll wait and see. Maybe Underworlds will work really well and this gamble will pay off. It's not for me. Not this time. Let me know what you guys think. Are you going to grab the new Underworlds? Did you play the old one a lot? What do you think of the new version? Are you interested to know more? And I'll be back with another video soon. Cheers, guys.